The following episode contains sensitive topic information that may not be appropriate for young listeners, as well as religious or other views that may not reflect those of the Sirens team.
Hello, Sirens. Hello, Ryan. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Rhonda?
Doing good. Doing good. If you're watching, you'll see that Lindsay is not with us tonight. She's feeling a little bit under the weather. So, Ryan and I are going to take you on a lighthearted journey and talk about his experience at Smoky Mountain Terror recently. He got to go. Where was it? It was in Kingsport, or is
Yeah,
that
it
where it
was
was?
in Kingsport. It was at the convention center. It was
Okay.
really fun. We kind of found out last minute.
Yeah.
Then I was like, hey, we need to go to that, right? So it was kind
Mm-hmm.
of like last minute. So here we go. We go drive an hour and 20 minutes to go down here and check out the Smoky Mountain
Check it
Terror.
out.
Had a blast. Everybody
Yeah.
there was just so awesome. There was so many vendors and other podcasts and investigators. It's amazing. So I suggest it
Mm-hmm.
to everybody, whether they're involved in these things or not, even if you like Halloween or just interested in gothic type things or no matter what you, there's a little bit of everything there. So yeah, we had a blast.
Yeah, we're getting ready to show the viewers on you. If you're not watching this, go back and catch it on YouTube so you can see these visuals. We have a slideshow and a half tonight. And Ron's going to tell us about some awesome things, including a lot of connections that he made with folks that are coming on the show to be future guests on the podcast. So we're excited about that. And I was so jealous I didn't get to go, and Lindsay was too. But we'll tell you as we get later into the episode that we will be attending a similar conference in Kentucky in the fall. So, a couple weeks before Halloween, we'll be doing that, and we'll be probably meeting all kinds of neat people, doing some live videos there, and getting more guests, as well as promoting our podcast. Lindsay's designing us a T-shirt to wear out to places like that, and I had no idea that these kinds of conferences were as popular as they are. I know we have a lot of people in Appalachia who are interested in the paranormal, and but I think Ryan, you got to see firsthand there in Kingsport, Tennessee, just how many people were coming out for a whole weekend of meeting actors, some of their favorite actors that had been in horror movies they like, and vendors that had a lot of unique things to sell. And we're going to show you some of that. So I'm anxious to get to attend my first one. And Ryan, I know this wasn't the first one you've been to.
No, it was the first one around here that I'm pretty sure. I've been to other ones like Horror Fest in California. I've been to ones in Florida. But what really surprised me were the amount of like investigators and podcasts and people that are really interested in share that type of
Mhm.
information that were there. And this was on Sunday. They said Saturday was, I mean, there's probably two or three times as many people there. So,
Right.
and I was like, wow, because Sunday was really, really busy, you know.
Yeah.
And and yeah, but like I said, I'm kind of glad that I went on Sunday because I had time to, they had the time to talk to us. It wasn't as quite as hectic, even though there was a
Mhm.
lot of very long lines and we weren't able to talk to as many people as we wanted to. But we had the chance, we didn't have to feel rushed. People
Right.
were more comfortable. It wasn't like shoulder to shoulder, even though it was very crowded. It was almost to
Mhm.
that point, but it was comfortable. So I had a good time. And like I said, this is going to be a fun episode, and we're going to be advertising later on some of the socials for some of the things that we might have missed on this one for time restraints and stuff. But yeah, can't wait to jump into it, and hopefully I see some of you guys and pay attention because you might see yourself or you might know somebody on some of the future episodes. So we've got a
Yeah.
lot of really cool things coming up in the future too.
Right. Yeah, a lot of the a lot of the people that were there, the vendors or investigators, especially the investigators and other podcasters, paranormal podcasters, were just really friendly, it seemed, and willing to share with Ryan and get pictures made and talk about what they do. And even willing to come on as a guest on the show. I thought that's really neat. It seemed like more of a family type atmosphere rather than, this one's competing with that one or what have you. So I'm looking forward to our trip in October to Lexington, Kentucky, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But let's get into the slideshow because here we go. So it was June 8th and 9th, like you said, in Kingsport at the Meadowview Convention Center, and they advertised this very heavily, advertised this with Twilight stars like kind of first and foremost in the poster. And I'm not sure who all was there on Saturday, but I know that on Sunday when Ryan, when you and Lisa went, and we'll see more of these pictures in a minute. But there were a lot. I was surprised how many of the Twilight actors were there, and they did a panel, I guess, where you could go in and sit down and listen and ask questions even. Now, was that something Lisa went to, or did you both go to it?
We didn't go through the panel. We was able to kind of hang around, and we did see a couple of them as they walked by, when they was
Okay.
done taking pictures and stuff. But on Sunday, I think it was like 10 to 5 or something. So it wasn't as long as it was on like Saturday.
Right.
We tried to go in and we tried to meet as many people as we can, try to, find out more information and maybe, kind of get a couple of guests. And, there's a lot of people that wrote books. There's some people that, we're going to find out later that are actually doing TV stuff. We didn't have time for like a lot of the panels or a lot of the question and answer type settings. But, next time, and I know that we've already discussed, we have time in the future. We're going to try to set aside to make room because, like I said, this was a last minute thing. I wasn't sure I was going to be off work. And then I happened to be off work that day. And I was like, oh, yeah, we're going. So, like a spur of the moment type thing. And then, unfortunately, you guys wasn't able to make it because it didn't work out for you guys. But, for you
Well, I would have loved to have been in that panel right there. I know Lindsay would have too. I would have liked to have heard what other people said, or asked, and what the actors had to say. But go to the next slide. And on the next slide, we will see one of my favorite actors from the Twilight series. Actually, I think he's my very favorite actor from the whole series. I just loved his character, Dr. Cullen. And, when you think about being somewhere like this, you've got to be a very gracious person because I think this was like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or at least Saturday, Sunday kind of thing. And they stay at their table and talk to people and do panels and sign, merchandise and stuff for hours on end. And so I thought, in the picture on the right, he looks kind of like he's kind of tired.
Well, I said there's lines, and some lines are shorter than others. Some maybe 100 people in it, But for the most part, even though it was on Sunday, and I walked through a lot of tables, and some of them, if there was really, if they really wasn't many people in, and I knew I would have a chance within the next 5 to 10 minutes to talk to somebody, I'd go up there, talk to them, find out a little bit more about them, their experiences and stuff. It was all gracious. They always like in a good mood. As you can see, the one on the left, he's laughing and cutting up. And then sometimes they stand up and they post for pictures or somebody asks them maybe a more serious question and it kind of changes like a more serious answer. But for the most part, it was all just kind of chilling, signing autograph, taking pictures. There's a lot of them laughing and joking. There was one lady around. I'm not sure if we have we can put, if I have a picture, I don't know if I was able to get one with her or not. She had a Chucky doll that was like 4 foot tall. And she came up because Andy was actually there, the original child from Chucky and Child's Play. And she walked around the corner and she made a point to make sure he saw that. And he was like, wow. And she goes, I knew you would love that.
Yeah.
So I think some of the people's reactions and how we react to them and how we're intrigued by some of the things they do, I think it surprises some of them. They're just like, wow,
Yeah, it's like these people took this and ran with it. Well, and too, some of the movies, some of the actors that we'll see in the upcoming slides, they were in a movie in the 80s. And so they probably didn't anticipate that, when they reached the age they are now, 30 and 40 years after these movies, that, they'd still be as popular as they are today. So anyway, you could go to the next slide and um, we will show you Jasper. He is a pretty man. He is a pretty man. And in the middle, that's our cousin posing with him. I think his name is Jackson Rathbone. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Okay. And I asked her if we could use this picture because I thought it was so great. And she had shared it on her social media. And did you get to see her? Did you even know she was there, Ryan?
No, I actually did not. Like I said, there was so many
Yeah.
people, and it was hard enough for, me to keep up with my group because, going
Yeah, exactly.
ways trying to do things, one person, trying to see the Twilight people, and I'm trying to, I see something really cool. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go check this out, because if
Yeah.
you see something or see somebody with the amount of people and the festivities going on, you may not see that person or
Mhm.
that thing again, right? So I'm just like, no, I'm gonna go find this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of back and forth.
Well, I know a lot of he's still a heartthrob, and a lot of the young ladies will always remember him as Jasper, no matter what else he plays in his career. But those are some really great pictures of him. He looks really friendly. And on the next slide, we see he's a pretty man too. And that's Kellen Lutz, and then Ashley Green, who
Mm.
played Alice. And gosh, what was his character's name? Do you remember?
Not off the top. I just remember hers because I will never forget the show because her eyes in Twilight
Yes. Oh,
amazing.
he was Emmett. He was
Yeah,
Emmett.
Emmett and Alice. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
And
her
he had
eyes in the Twilight show just amazed me because I was like, yeah, I remember her, the eyes,
yeah,
because she had the
died.
prettiest eyes.
Uh-huh.
And
And he had dark hair in the movie, right? Like uh, very dark hair, dark black hair. But they look like they're having a great time too. I think that's cool. I wonder if they probably don't see each other very often until they get together for something like this. It's
right.
probably kind of like a little family reunion to the actors. That's
Yeah.
kind of cool.
And the ones we talked to, they said they said that not everybody gets to show up to each event. So at one
Yeah.
event there may be only 3 or 4 of them. The next one may be a couple of different ones.
Hmm.
Only like once a year or something does the entire cast get together. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
a reunion of sorts, like you said.
Hmm. Yeah. So let's go to the next one. And I had to put another one of Peter Facinelli in there. I just love him. And then tell us about this guy on the. Oh, is the guy on the left in the pink T-shirt the one who played
Yeah,
the dark-headed one up there?
yeah. He played the master vampire that was part of the like the original ones that set the
Mm-hmm.
rules and the
The
regulations.
Volturi
Yeah.
Marcus. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. He looks so different. Of
Yeah,
course.
he's tall. Like I said,
Not because he's
it's probably
aged.
everybody in that show.
Yeah.
Because when they stand up, everybody in that show is actually like super tall.
Oh wow.
I'm walking around, man. I'm
Yeah.
not tall. I'm like 5'7", right? And
Yeah.
everybody's just like, wow, they're some big vampires, right?
Yeah. And he looks, I guess what makes him he just looks like a normal person,
Yeah,
now in this picture, but up above where the Twilight poster is, he is, he just looks so different because he had that pale face and the long dark hair. Um, so those are some cool pictures too. I would have loved to have met some of these Twilight people.
right.
Um,
And
I kind of liked the movies too. I mean, I was grown after, when they came out, but I kind of liked them too and read the books. So the next slide we're going to go to, we posted, I don't know if you saw on our socials, but we posted the video of Ryan screaming as you got stabbed by Michael Myers there. And I think that's the guy that was in this costume. It wasn't any of the ones who played him in the movies, right? It was
No,
just,
this was like one of the costumes that they make
yeah.
and they sell online. And we're
Mhm.
going to be promoting a lot of socials and stuff this week and advertisements and things like that. That way they get some props because there's a lot of
Yeah.
they have really, really good merchandise. So I get to talking to them and, I was like, hey, you guys want to get a picture? And they're like, yeah. And then they're like, why do you want to do it? And then, of course, they're like, hey, he needs to be stabbing you. I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, okay. So he's like, here, and he puts his head in my hand, and I'm like, all right, well, and he goes, all right, and he looks at me, so I'm just like, all right, let's go. So like, he's just like,
He
and he's
did.
putting the force behind it. I'm just like, I hope his hand don't slip, because when he starts it, he makes it because he knows we're videoing, so he wants to
Yeah,
make it look real. So it's
exactly.
not like just to he's like,
He really did. Was it a real knife? It wasn't a real knife, was it? Like it was a prop knife or something, right? You don't know?
we'll never know.
Well, that was awful kind of him. He really put on a little show there in the video. I loved it. That was great.
That,
I was laughing my head off when I saw that.
Yeah, I barely made it out of there alive. I mean, no kidding. I might be one of the only survivors to ever survive an attack from,
Oh gosh, and he had that. He really did have the stance and the
yeah.
everything. I would have had to see that because Michael Myers is my favorite. Okay, let's go to the next slide. And okay, here I thought this was interesting because we had just talked about Robert the doll in the last episode that we did before you went to this in
Right.
the haunted and cursed objects episode, and so you had we had shown a picture of Robert the doll. And as soon as I saw this picture you sent, I was like, oh my gosh. Now, this is not the original Robert the doll. It's like a
Right.
duplicate, right?
Right. This is actually made by the same company that
Okay.
made the original Robert the doll. Right. It's the same type of manufacturer.
Okay.
This is not the Robert the doll. It is just made by the same company. And also, the
Mhm.
lady that had Robert there, I was like, hey, do you care if I take a picture? She said, well, don't ask me. You need to ask Robert. And I was like, okay, is he going to answer me? Right. And she goes, well, just like the original, I mean, it's made by the same company,
Uh-huh.
same process. You need to ask Robert. And if you get a feeling that says no, you better not take a picture of him because something bad will happen to you. But if you feel it's okay and if he gives you permission,
Uh-huh.
then you'll feel okay about it, and then you can take a picture. So I'm just like, okay. So I asked, Mr. Robert the doll politely if he
Yeah.
cared if I take a picture of him. I felt okay. It's just a little weird talking to a doll. So
Yeah.
I took that as an okay. So I went ahead and took his picture.
He looks kind of friendly there. He doesn't look really mean, does he?
Well, that's how they bait you in.
With those dark eyes and everything. And then over on the left, we see a Chucky doll. Now, was that for sale? Were there Chucky dolls for sale there?
Yeah, there were Chucky dolls for sale. Pretty much any type of horror movie memorabilia, or even if it wasn't like any kind of mask, whether or a poster or like news clippings. It was
Mhm.
anything under the sun that had to do with paranormal horror movies, things like that. Even if it was like psychedelic, there was things for anybody. So if you really enjoy just seeing random stuff, whether you're into horror movies or not, this is a place to be. It's really cool.
A lot of randomness.
Yeah.
And I do want to say that probably if this had been like 30 years ago, even 25 years ago, there there wasn't the interest that there is today in the paranormal. There was interest, but I mean, they have these conferences all over the country, and tons of people flock to them because there's just so much interest in the paranormal and supernatural, and so many horror movie fans and stuff like that that I don't think you would have seen 30 years ago.
Right.
So these are great. I'm glad they're having things like this for all us paranormal weirdos.
Yeah, and they're inexpensive. It's
Mhm.
a great way to spend an entire day having fun,
Mhm.
talking to like-minded people, finding out a whole lot of interesting things, and you can plan
Networking
your
too.
business stuff around it.
Yeah.
It was pretty awesome.
Yeah. You did a lot of networking. So let's go to the next slide. And oh, yes, 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 yes. Okay. So Ryan knows, and people who know me know that my favorite scary movie, second place to Halloween 1978, is 1985 Fright Night. I love this movie. And I was like, that's Charlie Brewster. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And then up here on the in the picture at the right, is that like they signed something? What is that?
Yeah, that's like an autographed, like a script type thing. Uh,
Oh,
so you
cool.
can buy, and like I said, it's not just pictures and stuff. A lot of them have scripts. They have screenplays. They have behind the scene pictures, posters, stuff like that. Uh, One of my favorite things is when I believe it was California. Yeah, it was California Horror Fest. I met Eileen Deitch. She was to fill in for Linda Blair in The Exorcist. She'd done a lot of the exorcism scenes, and and she was also the demon, Pazuzu. And I met her. She is amazing. We talked to her forever, and I've got a screenplay from her signed. And we talked to her for a long time, got a picture taken with her and things like that. She's super nice.
Mhm.
So Linda Blair's on my bucket list. I'm going to find her somewhere and get her to sign the same
Yeah,
thing. So, but
that's
yeah, a
cool.
lot of these folks are super nice people.
Hmm. Yeah.
And you got a picture of Evil there. Stephen Jeffries, he was there too. We're actually going to put a picture up here on some of our socials. He's a really good
Hmm.
guy. I talked to him for a few minutes. We talked. He showed some interest of being a guest in the future to kind of let us know some of his experiences and some
Oh
things
yeah.
about the movies behind the scenes, which is something we
Yes.
always love to hear.
Oh,
So,
love.
Stephen, hopefully we can work some things out and get him on here. And a
Hmm.
lot of these folks that wasn't able to talk to Mr. Brewster, but he was walking around. He's a great guy. As you can see,
Yeah.
he was having a blast.
Hmm.
And some of the lines were super long, so we're trying to get the best picture we can because some of them, some of them had like handlers and stuff, and they're like, "Hey, don't
Yeah.
get too close. Hey,
Yeah. Of
you're not
course.
really supposed to be taking pictures and stuff." But a lot of the actors they didn't really care; they would see you, right? But some of the other people are like, "Hey, you're not supposed to be doing that."
Yeah.
Didn't have not one actor say anything, but some of the security there, they just didn't. But they didn't care because there's other people doing it. So we was trying our best to try to get some good quality pictures because
Yeah.
we're promoting them and for
Right.
people to look them up on social media, look at some of their movies and maybe, watch some of their movies and get involved. So that's
Hmm.
kind of the reason we went there and to promote, some of our socials and find out more about others
Right.
because there's some really great teams on there, which we'll be bringing on future guests, which, very, very soon they'll be hearing more about one that
Hmm.
we will be
Yeah.
coming up here in a few minutes that are amazing that we already got be able to take advantage of. But yeah, these guys were awesome, and I did get to speak to Stephen Jeffries, and he's a great guy. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
He's kind of quiet, but we talked for a minute, and he showed a lot of interest, and I would love to hear more about what he has to say.
That is so funny that you said he's kind of quiet because on the movie he's just like
Yeah,
smart ass, loudmouth, and I love that scene where they're driving away and he's in the back of the Jeep just laughing, his little laugh and pointing at him after he's been
yeah,
turned. That's iconic. But on the next slide, you're going to find out why why this is my favorite vampire movie, and it's all because of Chris Sarandon, and I'm so excited to be able to, if you see up in the left, we've pulled a picture from scarefestweekend.com. And this is what we're going to attend in October in Lexington, Kentucky. And Chris Sarandon is going to be there. Now, he was not at Smoky Mountain Terror with some of the other actors, but he will be at Scarefest. And I can't wait. But come on, people. I'm talking all the appeal. Look at these pictures. What a vampire.
yeah. I remember growing up and you watching this movie,
Yes,
and
over.
yeah,
And
that was your heart throb right there.
it was my heartthrob. I know. I was a weird little kid. Well, you got to remember though, I was 15,
Yeah.
14, 15 when this movie came out. So I'm, right there in the middle of my teen years. And I just was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what it was about him, but I just thought he had to be the sexiest vampire ever. So anyway, I was watching a YouTube clip, and Amanda Bierce, the female star of the movie, was talking about working with him. And she said during the movie, she was 26 and he was 41. And, she's 26 playing a high schooler, and then here's this 41-year-old guy playing this really hot vampire. But she said that he never made it awkward or anything. He was just totally professional, totally a gentleman, very kind, and so it was a neat clip. But anyway, okay. So before we go on to the next slide, just if you're watching on YouTube, you can just get that one last little glance of. I tried to pull some of the best pictures that I could find from the movie. But anyway, that's enough about me gushing. Here we go with just some. Here's a lady on the left that Ryan said was just walking around in the conference, and she looks like she should be in a horror movie. I mean, that makeup job it's amazing.
Right. I didn't really see her in any one of the booths or anything like that. She may have been part of something, but I seen her when she was walking around. And
Uh-huh.
like I said, I seen her walking around. I didn't really see her at any particular place.
Right.
Now, the lady on the right, of course, the Bride of Chucky with
Mhm.
Chucky there. I seen her, and then I had to grab her picture. She's part of Aunt Mabel Crawford's entertainment. She actually does makeup, design, costume, stuff like this. And this is something we'll be adding on our socials with a couple more pictures
Mhm.
and what she does. But this is what they do, right? This is
Yeah.
how good that they can actually do the makeup, the costumes. So if you have somewhere you want to go or a certain character you want to look like, this is the quality. So, and
Right.
that's Aunt Mabel Crawford's entertainment. So you can actually look those up on different social media
Mhm.
accounts. And they were great
That's
people. They was able to post it with some pictures. Like I said, we'll
mhm.
post more, and you can look those up on Instagram and stuff. So, and that's the one on the right.
Yeah, that's a really she did a really good job. Gosh, her makeup is just really cool. Do you know where she's based out of? Is it
I've got a
like
card right
kind of
here.
local?
Yeah, I've got a card right here, and I don't
Uh-huh.
know if you can see that. And I can also tell you it is the lighting in here is a little bit. She's out of Jonesboro,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
yeah, she's
A
out of
hop and a
Jonesboro,
skip and a jump. Yeah.
and you can. She's on Facebook and she's on TikTok. Uh,
Cool.
as Aunt Mabel Crawford. So Aunt Mabel, AuntMabelCrawford.
Okay.
So you can go to Aunt Mabel Crawford on Facebook and TikTok, and you can
Cool.
actually go in there and see some of that.
I bet she's got some really cool pictures on her
Oh,
Facebook and her
yeah,
socials and stuff.
yeah.
Very neat. Okay. Let's go to the next slide and see what we got. I thought this was cool. I really like the skeleton glowing in the in the back.
And that's not any kind of special effects. He put he's that's his own booth, and of course he's got the tarp over the top
Mhm.
of the roof. But
Black.
that's exactly how it glowed. So he designed and made all of that. And he's called the acrylic ACRYLIC wolf,
The acrylic
and his
wolf.
name is Eric Van Hoos. And he does those. He designs them from scratch. He's got a lot of different merchandise that he
Uh-huh.
sells. He did tell me a really cool story about some paranormal stuff that happened to him when he was younger.
Mhm.
I really like the way that, and like I said, when you walk by, that glows. It sticks out to you. So
Oh
I'm just
yeah,
like,
I bet it
what's going
did.
on over here, right? And we get
Uh-huh.
to talking, and we share some information. And then he talks to me a little bit in his shaggy voice, which was dead on. And he can do Scooby as well. And he does. And it's Acrylic Wolf on like Instagram and Facebook, YouTube, stuff like that. He does a lot of
So
really good stuff. And,
does he like? Sorry, go ahead.
so if you would like, some designs, some glow in the dark, and he takes requests and things.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
Yeah, you can go on there and you can look him up. And like I said, if you have any questions, hit our email, messages on our socials,
Mm-hmm.
and we can get you in touch with basically anybody here that's on the slides. Plus, we've got a bunch more that we need to add on
Yeah.
because I've got an entire stack of stuff like this big that I need to go through that we've been going through for like a week and a half ever since we've done this, on top of work and stuff. So
Yeah.
we're going to try to promote as many people as we can and try to get some words out because they got some really good materials, good merchandise. A lot of them have some really cool stories. I hope I can get some of them on our show
To tell our
to
stories.
let our
Yeah.
listeners listen. So, yeah,
Yeah.
he's a super great guy.
I
He's a
imagine
great
they all
guy.
have stories.
Yeah.
Some pretty cool stories, and it would be neat to hear some behind the scenes stuff from these, from some of the actors too.
Mhm.
Okay, let's go to the next slide. I thought this was really cool as well. On the left, you see the Jeepers Creepers character and the truck behind him, and I thought it was a statue, but Ryan, you said that's a person.
Yeah, that's a real person posing, and you can take pictures with him with the truck. You can do different poses, things like that. So, like I said, and it looks real, super amazing.
Yeah,
And he does a really good job acting the part. I will say that.
yeah.
He gives you a very creepy atmosphere when you start walking around there.
Yeah.
But so we sit there and watch for a few minutes. Like that's really awesome. And there was a
Mhm.
line, to come over and take pictures with him. So
Oh yeah, I'm sure. And these characters on the right, dressed up like Jason from Friday the 13th, they look pretty cool too.
yeah, they were just walking around, and like I said with the other girl that I took a picture of that was on the left from the Bride of Chucky, I'm sure these guys are advertising for one of their booths or locations because of their
Yeah,
costume designs, outfits, masks. I
yeah,
just didn't happen to see which booth they came from.
yeah.
But this is the kind of quality and designs that you're going to get when you go to these locations. It's not like, even though Walmart sells some decent stuff for like what
Right.
it's worth, but if you want something that realism and you really want something that's going to stand out and, scare somebody, you got to go to these because
Yeah.
I've seen some stuff and they had some really good masks and basically the entire outfit. If you
Mhm.
match the body in some of these, you'd be like, that's got to be him.
You'd be
They're
killing it
that
at
they're
Halloween.
that realistic. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and because it looks like they just stepped off the movie set. I
Yeah.
mean, that's pretty good. Um, so go to the next slide and let's see. Now here is we're gonna have this uh, guy on as a future guest, and Ron, you tell us more about him because I don't think I'd ever heard of him.
I hadn't really either. I walked by, and the first thing I noticed was some of the certificates that we showed, which we'll show in a minute.
Mhm.
It's the first one I've ever seen in person to have to be certified demonologist and paranormal investigator and stuff like that. And then there's a lot of people talking to him, and he seemed like a really nice guy. So then when the crowd kind of settled down a minute, and I talked to some other people, I walked back over there and I start talking to him. And he starts giving me insight about different type of investigations. And
Mhm.
then he started to tell me, I'm like, okay, well, you've been this, we start talking about like certain haunted houses that are really popular, certain cases that have been
Mhm.
investigated by other paranormal teams. And
But
then
he's an
started,
investigator.
uh,
He an investigator himself.
yes, he's a
Okay.
demonologist, investigator. He pretty much does it all, and he's certified. He's got these certifications.
Mhm.
And he gets up. And like I said, that's the first time I've seen one of those in real life, and this,
Okay, so
I guess,
it
is
says
pretty
Lee
legit. Yeah. And
Joseph.
sorry about the lighting. There's so much light there. It's really hard to get a good
Yeah,
picture
I'm
without
sure.
glare.
You
And,
did good though. That's a pretty good picture. I can
yeah.
read what it says.
Uh,
It says lead exorcist investigator. Okay, cool.
yeah. And the cool thing about it was, and this is how down to earth he was, I get to talking to him, and then the topic of like exorcisms and, evil entities and stuff like that come up. So we talk and he goes, yeah, he goes, I've done an exorcism. He goes, but hang on, because the lady beside of him kind of looked at him. He goes, this makes her really uncomfortable. She do not like hearing about things like this. She goes, hang on,
Oh.
walk over here. So he gets up from his booth and we walk over to the side and he starts telling me all this really cool stuff, and I was like, wow, okay. And, and so he's like, yeah. And I was like, well, hey, we love this type of things. I kind of introduced him, told him a little bit about us. And
Mhm.
he goes, yeah, he gave me some information how to contact him. And he said he would love to come on and share some information to kind of, and he also has some information to tell, to kind of let you know what's real, what's not, how to know
Mhm.
what's true, what ain't, and all this stuff. And we talked for like 15, 20 minutes. He got up from his booth and left. And we went over to the side and
Yeah,
he talked to me for like 10 minutes.
that's really nice.
Yeah, he's a super cool guy. I really like talking to him.
Well, cool. I'm looking forward to. I've already liked, his socials, and looking forward to having him on as a guest
Yeah.
sometime in the near future.
Yeah,
That'll be interesting. That'll be really cool.
yeah. Like I said, I'm not really wanting to give out a whole lot because it's his
Yeah,
story to tell. But some of the things he told me was just like, wow.
yeah.
And
Our
the way
listeners
he
would love
says
it.
it and his enthusiasm, you can tell the difference between somebody that's kind of going through the
Hmm.
motions and stuff. But he's got this, a couple certifications. He has some really good memorabilia, not really memorable. It's actual real stuff
Hmm.
he don't try to fake anything.
Yeah,
He goes, there's some fake things out there. He goes, I don't do that. I'm not about that. He goes, if it's not real, I'm going to tell you.
yeah.
So he was we're really down to earth, and I really enjoy talking to him. So that's Paris Paranormal. Look him up on socials. Uh,
Hmm.
you know, Great guy. Got some really interesting stories. He does investigations, and I really look forward if we can work things out and get him on as a future guest. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Okay, so let's go to the next slide and see what we got. Oh yeah, oh yeah. We've got um, the Southern Research Society. They are actually a little more local than I thought. They were. They're one of their uh, team members actually graduated from the high school that Lindsay teaches at in Virginia. So they are local in the heart of the Appalachians. They are um, srsparanormal.com is where you can find out a lot of things about their team and what they do, and they have a variety of expertise. I was really surprised about that. Um, and we put their socials up, and they are based out of the Nickerson Sneed House, and this is very near. I mean, very near to where I grew up, where my husband grew up, and so it. But she was telling us that they've turned the Nickerson Sneed House, which was a museum for a while, and they've turned it into a haunted bed and breakfast, and they have public events there and some things that we got to talk to them about actually last night. And we had some members of their team on as guests on the show, and that will be dropping this Friday night. So don't miss that. It's a great episode. This Friday night, you'll hear about some of the haunted locations they've been to and their experiences and upcoming projects. And so we love making spooky friends like this. And it's neat to know that there's someone, they're a team that's very close by. And we even hope to get to meet up with them in person and attend some events, maybe even team up with them sometime for like an on site investigation. That would be really cool. I got on their YouTube channel, which is SRS Paranormal 4606, and they do have like a live show that they do on YouTube, and it's really interesting. And they have guests on as well, but they are just involved in so many things, and they're authors, and I mean, the list goes on and on. So you don't want to miss Friday night's episode. Ryan, tell us a little bit about how you connected with them at. Um,
Well, I was walking through, and I'm like, okay, Southern Research Society. So, I'm thinking local, and I'm like, well,
Mhm.
it'd be cool if they're based out of here, because I want to know more about them. If they're investigating local stuff, hey, that's
Yeah.
our speed. So
Yeah.
I get to talking to him, and I get to talking to Matt, and we talk for a few minutes, and I find out just exactly how local they are. And I find out that they are experiencing stuff. But like I said, when you find out on the show, it's a lot more than what I expected. They've got a
Mhm.
lot of experience. They've got a lot of investigations under their belt, a lot of
Yeah.
different variations of how they investigate, which I thought was just amazing.
Yeah.
So I was talking to Matt, and then Rhonda. We talked to them for a few minutes, and then I'm like, hey, we would love to have you on the show because the things you're saying is interesting, and plus with you being local, all of our listeners would love to hear from you because
Mhm.
it's not like things that are being investigated in California or Texas. This is local stuff, and they're like, yeah, absolutely, and a lot of the stuff we do is right here.
Mhm.
So I'm like, so we talked for several minutes, and then of course, I had them, get their picture, and I told them that we would promote for them, and was able to work it out. And like you said, they're going to be on the program Friday, and do not miss it because it's amazing. It'll open your eyes on a lot of different things, on how to do the research, different techniques and stories and things. Uh, it's just an amazing team from all walks of backgrounds, firefighters, teachers, things
Mhm.
like that. So they just intrigued me,
Yeah.
So I talked to these guys for a long time,
Yeah.
and they was like, yeah, they was really happy. They was like laid back, down to earth, really excited to talk to us because they was just intrigued about us and our story and what we're doing and kind of how we came about as I was theirs.
Mhm.
And here's these guys, we haven't really got out there, even though we've done some stuff on our own. We're not on the level or,
Right.
experience that they had. And for them to, be the way they are, and it intrigued me. So it's like, yeah, absolutely. So we get to talking, and I invited them to be guests, and we was able to work it out quicker than we was anybody else. We was, and hopefully
Yeah.
we can have more in the future because after listening to the show that we drop on Friday,
Yeah.
you're going to be like, oh, yeah, we want to hear more because there's a lot of loopholes
Mhm.
and a lot of strings that were left undone.
Yeah.
So,
That's true. That's true. And they were so gracious, um, so kind and just very responsive when we actually started setting this up for them to come on, and we appreciate that, and we know that our listeners are going to love it. So that's the Southern Research Society. If you want to look them up and get a little background before Friday night's episode, you've got the socials here, you've got YouTube and their website. Check them out and go like and share and give them some love. And they actually gave us a shout out on social media today. Did you see that, Ryan?
I did. Like I said,
Yeah,
I went through and looked at that, and I thought that was really good because
that was
it helps them
yeah.
out, and it also helps us out.
Hmm.
And I think everybody needs to go check them out because they're good people. They got a lot to share, and I mean, their stories. Each individual story was unique, and we
Hmm.
only really got to talk to two of them. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. And we will be in close contact. There were some invitations maybe to tag
Yeah.
along or maybe some future investigations and stuff. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be really interesting.
Hmm. And they do a lot of. They have a lot of interesting things that go on there at their headquarters, the Nickerson Sneed House. So I want to check into some more of that as well. And so let's go to the next slide and see what else we got. Aha! We're hoping to get this gentleman on our show as well. And Ryan was able to check out his books and tell us about that.
Yeah, basically that is like the horror fest. That I've got his card here. It's Jake
Mhm.
Vanhus. It's Vanhuss. I'm not. I don't think I pronounced it right. But he's got like books that he puts out. He also does like the Southern Ghost Stories. He actually has some experiences that he shares. Of course, some of his books, are based on true stories, and some of it is, of course, of his creativity. But he does have a lot of experience of real stuff that he shares.
Is he like
I
a
talked to him
speaker?
for a
He
few
goes
minutes.
around speaking and things
Do
too? Does he like go around? He's a speaker too. He goes around and
Yeah, he,
speaks.
like I said, he speaks on things. He's got books.
Okay.
He shares stories, and like I said, he also we talked, and he may be a possible future guest. because he does do Southern ghost stories. So he does a lot of ghost stories that have been passed down like we do. And
Mm-hmm.
he probably knows a lot of things like maybe we haven't heard before. So I'm really
Yeah.
eager to have him come on, share some of his stories, some of his experience. And, we're going to, he has a lot of books out there and a lot of things that, our fans, because if you're watching this, you love stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you'd love to read his books, listen to his stories and stuff. So I'm excited to have Jake on as a future guest. So we're going to be in the works with him to try
Yeah.
to work that out also.
I'm definitely going to check out his books.
Yes.
I love a good scary story. So he looks really nice too.
Yeah, he's a nice guy, and it's highlandhorrorfest.com, and it's basically that's who he represents, and you can actually, I don't know if you can, but there are the things you can scan to kind of pull up some of his socials, how
Barcodes,
to
yeah.
the barcodes, to be able to pull his socials up, to be able to have access to buy some of his merchandise and stuff. And that's something we can do in the future too, because
Mhm.
like I said, I've got a stack of things about this big that we're going through. And there's only so much you can do at one time because you don't
Yeah.
want to get overloaded. So, we reach out, we kind of make some contact with a few people, and more people, are responding. So we should be pretty busy the next
Yeah,
little
the
bit,
next
I hope.
for
So,
sure. Yeah. Okay. So, and you said his first name's Jake?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a real nice guy. Like I said, didn't get to talk to him as long as I wanted to because,
Mhm.
of course, more people was coming up and it was buying merchandise and asking questions and
Yeah.
he was signing books and stuff. So, and that's another thing. You got to be respectful. You don't want to go in
Mhm.
and just jump on top of people. So I
Right.
would talk to them when they didn't have anybody. But when people started coming around,
Mhm.
because a lot of times this is their livelihood, and anytime that they
Yeah.
can help, because the things he makes here might help with his future research, his investigation, or it might be how he pays his bills. So,
Yeah.
I try to show respectful. If they gave me 5 minutes of their time, I appreciate it. If they gave me 1 minute or 15 minutes,
Mhm.
I still try to show the same that respect and be able to
Right.
give them information and trying to find out more about them and also try to help them out in the future. So,
Yeah. That's important, I'm sure. I'm sure there are people out there who would take advantage, but yeah. I'm so glad you got to go and make all these connections. That's amazing. I hope we make as many or more at the October Scarefest. I'm just looking forward to that so much. Okay, let's go to the next slide and see what we got. Aha! Now, Ryan, I know that Jason Voorhees is one of your favorites. So I'm sure when you saw this, you were like, "Oh my gosh!" So this guy played Jason Voorhees in many of the Friday, probably not all, but many, I would say, of the Friday 13th movies, right?
yes. Yeah, he like I said, and he was a big guy. So I mean, the first thing I see, he stood up. I'm like, wow, and I tried to picture him in a costume,
Uh huh.
and I was just like, yeah, that's him. Because he had the build, the temperament, the facial structure,
Yeah.
and you have to have a certain posture, body language, and a certain build to be able to play certain characters.
Hmm.
And this guy played it to a T, but out of costume, you can see he was just laid back. He
Yeah.
was talking to people. He was just really, really good to talk to.
That's neat. And he looks like he's having a good time too there. Did he happen to have a hockey mask at his table that he put on?
I didn't see him put one on. He was signing autographs, signing pictures, things like that.
Yeah.
Of course, they have the pictures behind them to let people know who they
Yeah.
were.
That's
Some of them did have like the mask, or maybe depending on a mask or a knife or a glove. But like
mm-hmm.
I said, I wasn't able really to talk to him. I walked by a couple of times, and the line for him was huge
Oh, yeah.
always. So I really wasn't
Yeah.
able to get much closer. And I had help taking pictures. So sometimes we'd have
Hmm.
to kind of stand in the crowd and wait for it to clear out a little bit, and then kind of zoom in or have it zoomed up, and then wait for a clear picture to be able to take. That way,
Yeah.
we can try to bring something to our viewers and listeners. And also trying to show them the respect without just being right on top of people,
Yeah.
causing
For sure.
disruptions.
for sure. Okay, well, I know you enjoyed seeing him. How many of those Friday 13th movies have you watched them all?
I believe so. Like I said, I probably watched them all. It's been a long time since I've watched all of them, honestly. Uh, but I need to
I
go
want to
back
go
to
watch
them because I
Jason
like
Lives
the
now.
Jasons, I like the Michaels, I love the Freddy Kruegers.
Yeah.
Uh,
Speaking of Freddy Krueger, I think we have
Tommy
a
Jarvis, like I said, Tommy with Jarvis there, he was like
what's
good
his
guy,
name? Tommy Jarvis.
yeah,
Okay. It makes me want to go watch Jason Lives now.
right.
So let's go to the next slide because I think we also had the is this actor from The Walking Dead? I think
Yeah, he's
maybe.
one of the actors from The Walking Dead. He was there.
Cool.
Uh,
Jeremy Palco.
my son and a lot of my family was involved in The Walking Dead quite a bit. I got to watch a few episodes.
Mhm.
The episodes I've seen, I really enjoyed. I just never really got to go. So if I started watching it, I would have to watch from day one.
Right, me too.
I really loved watching the parts I did, but at the time, when it was really popular, had a lot of other stuff going on. I didn't really
Yeah,
watch
sure.
TV.
Yeah,
What I
didn't watch
do,
much.
I don't really watch a lot. Man, I like watching some sports and stuff when I'm off. But we normally now when I watch TV, I'm like trying to investigate something, or I'm trying to look
Yeah.
something up, or So that's kind of what we're doing. Or I might go watch the new scary movie that comes out or something.
Mhm. Mhm. Me
But
too.
yeah, I need to catch up on The Walking Dead. But like I said, he's one of the actors, and of course, he had a lot of memorabilia there, pictures.
Yeah.
He signed autographs, things like that. There's a lot of different things I'm sure he played in.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
Jim Placco, and I do apologize for not knowing more about him in particular. But
That's okay.
for all your Walking Dead fans out
Yeah.
there, some people consider horror, some maybe whatever, but it's part of genre, I guess,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he was there too. And it is scary because I don't want to be chased or my brain's eaten by a zombie. So,
Right. And that
you
show has some loyal followers. I will say that. I
right.
can remember when it was popular and people at work discussing it every day. So that's pretty cool though that he was there as well. And I know you mentioned Freddy Krueger, and maybe let's bring up the next slide because maybe well, not in this slide, but we have talked about this movie, Pumpkinhead, and I had never watched it until we talked about it on the podcast and went and watched it. So tell us who this gentleman is beside the Pumpkinhead, the
That's
actual.
that's actually Brian Brenner. He's one of the teenagers in the
Okay.
Pumpkinhead movie that is being stalked by Pumpkinhead.
Oh, okay.
And the mask with the headpiece on the right is
Yeah.
actually Pumpkinhead. And
Oh,
he told me, and he actually mentioned that he would like to come on maybe in the future and tell us a little bit of backstory and behind the scenes stuff about Pumpkinhead. And one of the
that's
things I asked him, I was like, "Was you scared?
uh-huh.
Was it scary seeing this thing come out at you? Because I know it's like character acting."
Uh-huh.
And, he's like, "No, the guy that played that was like made it really cool for us because we was like young and teenagers. So
Mhm.
we wanted realism, but he really didn't want to like totally really make us mess our britches while we're filming.
Yeah.
Even though when we watch the movie, we'd be like, oh, I'd be scared to death if that thing come
Yeah.
out, because there's not a lot that would actually freak me out because I've seen. But Pumpkinhead is one of the things that if I were to see
Mhm.
it like in the woods or real life or coming at me, I'd be like, yeah, it's a totally different level. So if you have not seen the movie Pumpkinhead, and I know Rhonda finally got to watch it a few weeks
Yeah,
ago,
and I love it.
and I'm not sure whether our partner in crime, Lindsay's got to watch it yet or not. Hopefully she has. But to me, it's beyond its time. I mean, that movie,
Yeah.
even though it was made in the 80s, I think it set the mark and it was beyond its time. I think should go down in history as one of the best movies ever because of just how it's set up and like how is the movie laid out. It was really cool.
Mhm. Mhm.
But
Yeah, it
yeah,
was. Had some really spooky moments in that movie, and I was watching it by myself at home in the dark. So tell us a little bit about, do you know much about the picture on the left? I keep looking at that thing that's on the table there, wondering what in the world that is.
I'll be honest, I really didn't know. Like I said, uh, I talked to so many people, and like I said,
Yeah.
unfortunately, I know he played in a lot of different movies like Evil Dead. I'm a big Evil Dead, person. I like that, but he played in Evil Dead,
Oh, okay.
uh, and a couple other things like that. But I'm not real sure off the top of my head, but I just know he
Yeah.
took pictures, autographs, and he played in a lot of different movies. But like I said, unfortunately, right now, I
Yeah,
wasn't
that's
able to
okay.
promote on our socials. But actually, I wasn't the one that actually took that picture. But I had some people helping me because they were, like I said, there was
Right.
hundreds of vendors there, and it was on a short time frame. It was only open like 10 to 5 or something.
Yeah.
There was a lot of things we wanted to try to cover. There was a lot of people we wanted to talk to, and in some of the conversations we had, like actually, turned into actual conversations instead of like just a few
Hmm.
words. And then, of course, we want to have a little fun too. So, we did have some
Right.
fun, which you'll see later on. Uh,
I did tell Lisa that I would give her props for a lot of the pictures that were showing in the slideshow, and even more that we didn't include here. She got some really great ones.
yeah,
Yeah, she did a great job. So props to her. You need to take her with you every time.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she kind of likes this stuff too, right?
Oh, yeah, she does.
Yeah.
She likes certain things, and there's certain guest stars. Like I said, she loved the Twilight people. She loved talking to them.
Mhm.
She got to actually, I think she did get to speak to a few of them whenever they would take their break. We
Yeah.
would kind of position herself like between them and the concession and the bathrooms. So whenever they
Mhm.
did have to get up to go somewhere, we had them in and say, "Hey, how you doing? You doing okay?" And was able to actually communicate it a little bit that way. So it was kind of
Yeah.
cool.
Cool. That is neat. All right, let's go to the next slide. Um, I don't even know what to say about that, but that is a pretty cool prop or doll or whatever it is. Is
You
that like the
remember the
crypt
show in the
keeper?
80s and
Is that
90s? Uh,
crypt keeper or
yes,
whatever?
Crypt Keeper. That is the
Okay.
Tales from the Crypt. A lot of
Yes,
people
Tales from
may be too young for that, but that
yeah,
was a really, really popular and a really good show at
yeah.
one
People our age are remember that. Yeah,
time.
for
And the
sure.
picture on the right is basically a movie poster for Evil Dead Rising. It's one of the
Hmm.
last, it's like the last Evil Dead movie that came out, and
And
I
you
thought
can
it
get
was really cool.
posters, right? You
Yeah,
can. People are
you
selling
can get
those.
posters, and like I said, some of them are in really nice frames.
Mhm.
They have basically pretty much any movie or like TV series or something that you can
Yeah,
imagine. There was somebody that had something there promoting it, and it was
yeah,
really cool. And I really like that picture. I'm like, wow, that's cool.
yeah,
Because if you look, well, I'm big on eyes. I don't like staring in eyes too much because, to me, they're like mirrors or like pictures to the soul,
yeah.
right? I think they kind of open things up. But if you notice the eyes on the picture on the right, they look
Uh-huh.
so real.
Yeah,
And
they
that's
do.
kind of, to me, the eyes in a horror film or something that's scary, the eyes is what does it. You're right.
Yeah,
Because to me, that sets off, it's like I said, the rims for a car. You have a super nice car and then you got some jacked up wheels on it. You're like, what? But if you got a
yeah,
decent car with some nice wheels, it sets it off and makes it look better. So that's
Very
kind of what the eyes in a horror movie is to
yeah.
me. They're like, they make it or break it. So
True. That's true. All right, let's go to the next slide because I know here's some more posters and more guests just walking around dressed up like I guess that's the evil queen from Snow White, and then the other one is what is
like
her
Melissa,
name?
like Maleficent, I think,
Maleficent. Yeah,
if I pronounce it.
Maleficent. That's
And
who
they
it
were
is.
just
I can't.
walking around. And like I
That's
said,
so cool.
I'm sure that they was from a certain booth or
Uh
vendor,
huh. Maybe
a
for
costume store.
costumes. Yeah.
They didn't mention or give me a card, so I wasn't sure, but I'm
Yeah.
sure that's why they was there. But they was just walking around, and
Well,
they
it was
walked
awesome.
around in character, like
Yeah.
the queen is just like she walked around like she owned the place. They both did, like, hey, I'm the
That's
real
great.
queen. I'm
How
listening,
fun.
peasants, and I'm like, excuse me, do y'all care if I take your picture? Because they let that kind of vibe off, like, hey,
Yeah.
talk to me, you need to show respect. It's
Hmm.
just a vibe, and they're like, Yes, and then they walk, and I walk back and turn around, and they're like in their, their highness pose, and I'm just like, wow, they're really getting into this.
I
So
did.
then I took the picture, right, and it was really awesome, and they seemed like nice people. I didn't really get to talk to them much, but I was like, hey, look, I appreciate it. This is like, okay, thank you, and
Yeah,
they stayed in character, and it was
they
just like,
did. They're killing that
it was,
pose.
yeah, it was so awesome.
And I see over here you can get. I'm glad you took this picture because it has a Fright Night poster in it. The poster from the movie, and then there's Halloween as well. So let's go to the next slide. And I thought these were really cool. Ryan said there was someone there who actually makes these and sells them. It's like you're looking at a real newspaper with these headlines: "Never sleep again," "Mysterious dream deaths in adolescence," "Worry parents," is out there, "Worry police." Okay, so these headlines, like newspapers, these are so cool. And you said you bought the one, the Washington Star News, "Priest Killed in Exorcism"
Yes, I
one.
bought that one to
Yeah.
go with my autographed copy of this
Yes.
Exorcist screenplay I got in California that Eileen
Uh-huh.
Deeds done. So I thought that was so cool, and it
It
was cheap.
is.
It was like $5. So that
Wow.
was, and like I said, he had one for almost like he had one for Freddy, Michael
Uh-huh.
Myers, Jason, almost any kind of horror themed movie. He had a newspaper for,
And
and
I mean, it
I'm
looks
gonna
so
go ahead and
real.
yeah, it's really cool and it's awesome to have. So it's like it really
Uh-huh.
happened. So,
Yes.
if you didn't know any better, hey, kids, check this out. If you don't go to sleep at that right, and you can show them the one of Freddy, he
Oh
will
my
come
gosh.
get you.
I'm
Right?
so
That's
glad
something
they
our
didn't
parents.
have these around like when we were growing up, because
Man, it would have been horrible.
yeah,
But then, like, no, this is real. Oh yeah, if it's real, show me. And they show us a real newspaper. We're like,
say we would
oh
have
my god,
believed it. We would
yeah,
have so believed it. Go to the next slide. There's another one that I really like. That's my favorite one. The Haddonfield Tribune, "The Night Evil Came Home." Love it. That's great. And then there's Freddy Krueger finally. Um, as far as home decor, you could buy enough things to decorate a whole house, um, with a horror movie theme. I think at this place, um, there's a very realistic statue of Freddy Krueger there, and surrounded by a lot of other awesome things. Go on to the next slide. And Ryan, tell us about what we're looking at here. These are actually videos. They won't play for you through StreamYard, but I will post these on socials so that our listeners can see some of this stuff. This is pretty awesome.
the
So
one
tell
on
us
the left,
about, yeah.
is like a lamp. It's ceramic made.
Uh-huh.
Eyes glows. Some of them, their eyes kind of flutter and stuff. It's really cool and super, super creepy. And like
Yeah.
I said, there was stuff here that I never thought of. And some
Uh-huh.
of it, like, I was just like, wow, that's creepy. I wouldn't have that in my house because it's just, but it's so awesome. And other people's like,
Mhm.
oh, no, I've got a bunch of them. I'm like, and I get to thinking, hey, I could scare my sister with some of this stuff, right?
Yes, you could.
So, but then the one in the middle I thought was really cool because there's a light in the middle and you can have, it's almost like the glass that they have on churches and stuff. You
Stained glass.
put design in, and
Uh-huh.
they had Exorcist, they had Freddy, they had Michael Myers, they had Evil Dead, and those boxes turn. So as they turn, it's like a lamp, and it has a different picture or a different face or a different scene on each
Uh-huh.
side.
That's really cool.
And it was really neat. And I was like, "Oh my god, that's cool!" And
Yeah.
we're sharing some links and stuff. And like I said, I've got a bunch of stuff we'll be adding on to our socials about those, and those were amazing. And
Yeah.
I really like those. So when you go to these places, it's not just, yes, you can buy any kind of costume, you can go any kind of prop or any kind of memorabilia, but you also get some really neat stuff that you would never think about.
Mhm.
And there's some very creative people out there, and they come up with some stuff. I was like, wow, how do you even think of this?
That's what I was gonna say. They're so
So,
creative.
and then the one on the right, that's a guy walking around.
Is he like a demented Ronald McDonald? What is he?
I
We
don't
don't
know.
know.
He might have ate too many Big Macs. I'm not sure. Uh,
Yeah, he looks like yeah, I don't know, but anyway, he looks scary. I'll give him
Yeah,
that.
he's just walking around, and when the one's walking around, unfortunately, like I said, I didn't have time to kind of follow him back to whatever booth the location is from. But you guys, those are watching on YouTube,
Yeah,
you can see they've got some amazing design, and the realism is incredible.
yeah.
It's whatever look you're trying to go for, or whatever kind of costume or character you're trying to be. They've got some things on there that will make you look identical to whatever you're trying to do.
Well,
Whether
did you buy a costume? I have to ask, did you buy a costume while you were there?
I did not, I have to clear some things out before I buy a costume because I've got a
You
couple
got so
of
many
store
already.
costumes. I never throw anything away,
Same. I have whole boxes of Halloween costumes.
right? So either I need to build another room or an extra storage place, or I need to get rid of some of the things I have
Yeah.
because I never throw anything away.
I know, I can't part with that stuff. I mean, come
Right,
on, those Ghostbuster costumes we wore.
right. I think I still got mine somewhere.
Yeah, I do too. Oh man. Well, let's go to the next slide. As we're wrapping this up, wow. I will have to say, I'm going to put the video on our socials because Ryan was attacked by a T Rex at this conference, and
Yeah.
it is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I wish we could show the video here so you could get the full effect, but this is just how cool these people are at these conferences. Ryan, tell a little bit about how how you ended up posing for these pictures and having a T-Rex attack you and you had a whole audience around you.
Well, do you want the story about it chasing me down and like about eating me, or do you want to get the other story on how we created it? Because I can tell you either one you want to hear.
Well, how about a little bit of both?
Okay. We're getting ready to leave. We're walking out. And we're talking to these really cool people from that make haunted. Well, actually, they don't make haunted dolls. Just some of the dolls that they have just so happen to, or they come in contact, become haunted, right? And
Okay.
it's the haunted doll place is Gothic dolls, resin design, and more. And I get to talking to these people, and they've got some really good stories. And of course, they may be a few future guests because they have some people that would like to come on too. And they told me some fascinating stuff because the dolls they had just creeped me out, right? And then there's this dinosaur over here to my left, and this guy's getting in this dinosaur. And then I see this thing, and it's like huge, and it starts walking. I'm like, what? So then I'm like, oh no, we're going back in. So I'm following this thing around. And so then, I'm sitting there looking, and there's a big crowd, and, it comes over, and it had an interaction with the dog, right? The dog's kind of looking at it, and it's looking at the dog, and it kind of leads down, and they had a conversation, and the dinosaur leaves it alone. And then, I come over, and then I get in front of the dinosaur, and it decides, I guess it wanted to eat me. So then, it comes at me, and then I barely made it out of there alive because,
I
it
can
was,
tell.
as you can see, I was moments away from death. And, I was just grateful, that it decided I wasn't edible, and I was able to come share it with all you guys. But as you can see, it was pretty terrifying. That's a scary looking T Rex.
It is. It's very realistic looking and it's huge. And so you said there's a guy walking, or there's a guy inside, of course, operating it.
Yes.
Were there a lot of younger kids there at the
Yes.
conference, or
Yes.
teens, or
There was basically older people, younger people. A lot of people there was about, upper 20s to mid 40s, 50s, something like that. But there's a lot of younger people there too that was involved in it. And, that kind of surprised me because,
uh-huh.
I didn't think, the younger generation was involved as much as it was. But, yeah, there's a lot of people there, and it
I
was
was thinking if
good
a
for
kid,
everybody. It's good for the whole family, and of course, they
yeah,
had concession
family
stands,
atmosphere.
and
If a kid saw that, though, yeah, might have nightmares about Ryan being attacked by a T Rex. Now, did the T Rex make any kind of noise?
not really. I
Not really.
think it was trying to be stealthy. It didn't want any of the 1,000 people to know it was theirs.
Okay,
I don't
gotcha.
think it did too good of a job hiding.
Oh gosh, if that thing snuck up behind me, yeah, I probably would have peed my pants.
And it walked just like a dinosaur.
It
It moved
did. The video's
around,
amazing.
and actually, it did make some sounds. Now that I think about it, like I said, they wasn't real loud. Because
Right.
it's in a big area, it was loud enough because it didn't want to. But
Like not what was on
it was about
Jurassic
as real
Park.
as you're ever going to get,
Yeah.
right? And as you can see, I'm face to face with death there,
Yeah.
and I'm never going to Jurassic Park. I've already had my experience, and yeah, I'm
Oh,
grateful to
man.
be here. It almost got me.
It almost did. So, listeners, be watching our socials for that video because it's a doozy. And with that, we are going to sign off and ask that you contact us. If you have stories of your own to share, or if you have topic ideas, or you just want to say, hey, you can do that by emailing us at sirensofthesupernatural@gmail.com, or you can chat with us on our socials. We're at Sirens of the Supernatural on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And then we're also on TikTok at Supernatural Sirens. And we will leave you with encouragement to watch Friday night's episode one more time, giving a plug for that because we're so tickled to have the Southern Research Society team members on the show. And Ryan, anything else to say before we sign off?
Yeah, I was trying to find the actual people that I've that made the dinosaurs, like
Oh yeah.
Dino Riders, Dino Wranglers, something like that. I've got them actually right here. It is
Well, they
that
did a good
Natasha
job.
the dinosaur.
Say it again.
Natasha the dinosaur,
Okay.
and that's who that was. And that's basically all it says. It says Natasha will be there. I'm trying to find the actual name of the people that
Yeah, I bet we
made
could
her.
Google it, and find it.
But I'll find it and put it on our social. I've got a card here somewhere. Unfortunately, I got it mixed up, and I ended up having to work a lot later than what I expected. And
Yeah,
I had
that's
everything
okay.
in order, and then I couldn't find it. Uh,
Hey,
but
that's okay. We have
yeah,
fun.
so I'm glad Natasha didn't eat me. So I'm glad
Yeah,
I
me
was
too.
here to share this with you. I appreciate it. If we missed anybody, hey, we are sorry. There'll be future episodes that will be
Yeah.
advertising. That way, you get more advertisement from us. We'll be putting
Mhm.
more socials out, and in between shows, we're still going to be advertising because Halloween's right around the corner.
Yeah, it'll be here
We'll
before
be
you know
looking
it.
for things, so we'll give you guys several options and several different avenues to go in whatever
Mhm.
direction you see fit. And for all you guys out there, we want you to stay spooky
Yeah,
because that's what we do, right?
that's what we
So,
do.
we appreciate all you guys. Don't forget to hit us on our socials, send us emails with your stories. If you have any questions about anything that we went over tonight or want to contact anybody, let us know. We'll send
Yes.
you in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure. All right. It's been a great episode. I really enjoyed this one. I enjoy all of them, but it's been kind of more lighthearted and promoting others too. We're all about doing that. So we will see you Friday night, hopefully, when you tune in for our special guest episode. And we will see you again next week. So, like Ryan said, stay spooky. Bye.
Thanks, guys. See y'all later.